way Axon works is you add Axon as a hotkey for your neurons. And so the hotkey is able to issue 3 types of commands, which are follow, vote, and make proposal. It also allows Axon to see all of the neuron details. So you can see the maturity amount, you can see the original cached stake E8S. There's a bunch of private fields that you can only see if you are the hotkey or the controller. So what we're doing here in this form is adding the hotkey for whatever neuron you want to manage, and this allows you to see it in the UI, and it also allows you to send a few basic commands to it. And this only works with DFX neurons because of some UI restriction in the NNS app. So you have to create your neuron via DFX, and this command is over here. So if you have let's say you have this principal over here that wants to create a new neuron, you would go here, paste in your principal, and then it would generate this command for you. And what this does is transfers to a new subaccount using this memo for this amount. And then we notify the governance canister to claim a refresh neuron for this principal based on this memo. And I just hard code this memo to 0 to make it easier. Okay. So does that make sense? Are you able to run this DFX command?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I first have to get some ICP. That I can stake. So I'm looking at that right now.
Okay. I guess in the meantime, we can just walk through like a basic proposal process. So what happens now if I create a proposal because I have 70% of the votes, I automatically meet quorum by myself. So if I go here, let's say I want to change some parameter. I want to increase the quorum. Let's change the policy. Keep everything the same. We just increase quorum to, let's say, 30%. Actually, I would still have the majority. Okay, let's do something else. Let's just redenominate the supply from 10,000 to 100,000. So we can do from 1 to 10. So this is creating a Axon proposal. Redenominate 1 to 10, and we see that the supply has changed from 10,000 to 100,000. So now instead of 7,000 governance tokens, I should be able to refresh over here. Now everybody has 10 times more. So this is just a useful tool to, if you want to add members to your DAO, you can increase the supply and then transfer to the new members. I guess at some point in the future where Axons have value, you could have like a limited number of shares that really trade at a large dollar value. You could redenominate the supply to lower the unit cost, and then the price will, the market cap will go up because people like smaller numbers. So I can go and add a neuron real quick.
Yeah, you'll be quicker than I am, so.
If I have that handy.
Hi, I'm not sure if anyone can hear me. I'm just curious if it's okay to ask a random question.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, these tokens that you create, you said you're not following any standards. I just wanted to find out, when you create a token on, for example, on Dfinity, how do you get it to, for example, correlate to the ICP tokens, like to have the same value to the ICP tokens, or for it to get any value? I'm just curious how that works.
So you're asking how do tokens have value?
Yes, the ones that you create through the code, but it seems like they're separate from ICP tokens.
Right. So anyone can launch a token on any platform, and as long as there is a market that trades these tokens, you have buyers of that token, which will value that token at that price, and that's how price is determined.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I think I've added a neuron. Let's go and sync. It's a bit of a pain right now. You have to manually sync each axon in order to tell Axon to fetch the latest neuron data for its controlled neurons. I'm sure this can be improved. All right, cool. So we have this guy over here. One ICP, cool. So what we can do with this key is not much. You'll see that it's added as a hotkey. Only vote follow proposed commands can be executed. So let's try and do something. Let's try and issue a command here to have it, I don't know, increase the dissolve delay by some number. We can submit this proposal, and this proposal will accept again because I have a quorum. Now it's executing. And we see that the execution finished with errors, not authorized. This means that Axon, which is the creator of this neuron manage action, it does not have the authorization to tell this neuron to increase the dissolve delay. And the reason for that is hotkeys only have limited permission. Hotkeys are meant to be used as sort of like, let's say you have your Genesis neurons. They're in a hardware wallet in cold storage. You don't touch those keys. You can add a hotkey for those neurons in order to vote on NNS proposals and change your follow topics. But if you wanted to actually disperse funds, split your neurons, that sort of thing, you need to go a separate route. So maybe this is a good time to show what that looks like. So I have this neuron over here, which I believe is managing another neuron. Let me just check. I also want to fix the supply issue because I don't want to be the only one passing proposals by myself. Wait a second, why is this 700%? That's a bug. Refresh. Okay, yeah, that's a bug. Do we have more people that want to participate here? Or I can also just send some of these tokens away. And maybe that's a better bet. What I'm going to do is take this principal and go and send some of my tokens away. So here we have 50% of votes. Okay, so I'm going to send 20,000 to the canister, leaving me with only 50. No, I need to send another 20. Yeah, okay. Okay, got it. Another 20. So now I'm left with only 30K. So combined, we have 60K voting power. So we should be able to pass proposals. However, I cannot single-handedly pass proposals now. Okay, and what I want to do is add another neuron. Let me just go and find something. Okay, so this one. So what I'm doing now is adding another neuron as a hotkey. That way we can see it in the UI. Gonna refresh. Okay. You'll notice that this neuron says delegated. So we can now do some cool things. So this neuron, 99 whatever, we can actually tell it to, let's say, increase the dissolve delay by, and this would be seconds. So what does this do? This is saying we want to use neuron 840 to send a NNS proposal. So we're calling it make proposal. And the arguments to make proposal would be increase dissolve delay by 10,000 for this neuron that it is managing. So let's see if this works. Wait, how is it still executing? 10% quorum? Oh, because I never changed quorum. All right, so this executed without any errors. So we should have looked at the dissolve delay beforehand so we could compare it. But there are no errors, which means that this neuron command actually passed. So there was an intermediate step here where we told 840 to create an NNS proposal. And then so this is actually available in the NNS. You can go and like query for this NNS proposal number, and you'll find the parameters that we set. And then the results was we had this neuron increase its dissolve delay. So this allows you to take your genesis neurons and use the Axon UI to manage them, to call disperse, to call split, spawn, whatever you need to do. And the only requirements is in your cold storage neuron, in your genesis neuron, you would have to go and set a hotkey. Or sorry, no, you would have to go and set the neuron management topic. And you would pass in the neuron ID that is going to manage this neuron. It's a bit confusing, but the directions are here, and they're very long. As far as I know, this is like the best way to manage genesis neurons, considering there is literally no UI available. This is the only thing that exists. Okay, and then let me fix quorum so we have actual.
I already.
Oh, you did?
Proposed, yeah.
Nice. All right, cool. Yeah, so let's do a group vote, right? Let's just do an example where we tell this neuron to, is this dissolving? It's dissolving. Let's tell it to stop dissolving.
What's that proposal number again?
The NNS proposal number 15181.
And so it can be seen in the NNS right now?
I believe so.
Okay.
I have to double check.
Having had to do some of this manually from the command line, the speed with which you're doing this is giving me hives. It's really pretty amazing. It's awesome.
Cool. So now we have a active proposal. So this proposal is ready for voting. I was the creator of the proposal, so I have 30,000 votes. And now I'm going to need 20,000 more votes to pass this. So let's go. Let's go, team. Let's get this passed.
It would be nice to refresh the page if you vote, but currently you have to do it manually.
That's a good point. Okay, cool. So we passed. Wait a second. How do we pass? 50%.
Yeah, you need 50% for, and we had 80.
Yeah. So this makes sense. 50% quorum,
yeah.
And then at least 50% voted. All right, so cool, it worked. Wait a second. Why is this set following for all topics? Is this a different proposal than a one? Did we not do stop dissolving?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Apparently not. Apparently we set the following for all topics. Okay, well that's interesting. There's definitely a bug there somewhere. But what do we do? We set the following for all topics, no targets. So does that clear the list? I think it does. So if we refresh this, what happens? I actually don't know.
You have to be following specifically for the follow topic, right? You don't get rights if you're just following all topics. That's my understanding. I could be wrong.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you have to. So in order to do this delegated management, you have to follow this particular topic. Okay, so it looks like the result of our previous proposal was to set all topics to nothing. So now this neuron is no longer following all topics. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious why this proposal didn't get created correctly. It's probably a bug. Probably just never tested this. What if we split? Oh, we can't split. We're at 1.2. Can we do anything else here?
We can try again to stop dissolving.
I
And
don't-
look at what
yeah.
went wrong, because
I feel like if it didn't work back then, it's not going to work now. Let me do something else. Let me just top this up. I'm going to send some money. So I'm going to do this from DFX. Wait, no. Do I have money in plug? Not enough to get to 2. Okay.
So when y'all voted on this, were you doing it from the NNS app or from a command line?
That would be voting directly on the Axon UI.
Okay, you voted in Axon. Okay.
Okay, I sent one ICP to this neuron. Let's refresh. Yeah, the refreshing really should be done by itself.
yeah, but is there a way to do it automatically?
I would have to trigger it from the front end. I don't know if there's a way to trigger from Matoko, from the back end. Wait a second. Hold up. I sent one ICP. Yep, it's here. Where's my stake? Did I miss a step? Why doesn't this Axon thing work? Why is everything broken?
Because you wrote it.
That's why. Is this NNS bug? Is it my bug, or am I missing a step? Because this should be 2.2 now.
Can you check that NNS?
I can't check this in NNS. Wait, can I? Where are these? No, I can't, because these neurons were created in DFX.
Mm.
Maybe I have to call claimer refresh. Oh, no, I didn't even, okay. I have to click the button to refresh the neuron. But I thought I just did that. Is this going to work? No. Okay. Another bug here. So let's do something else then.
Can you split it anyway? See if
We'll
it works?
split it anyway. We'll get the error, but whatever. Wait, there it is. 2.2.
Ah,
A little late, but
Okay, let's split one and see what happens. I've actually never done this before, so let's see. Can we get some votes on this?
On it.
All right, cool. The minimum split includes the fee. Okay, let's try again. What was it? 1.0001. Okay. Well,
Another bug.
can we do 2? We're testing in prod. And
No better way to do it.
I have to test in prod because you cannot deploy governance locally. At least I couldn't figure out how to. All right, come on. Big money. At least this part auto refreshes. It's kind of nice. Okay. So I'll send more money. Let's do it. Now we have to play the game of, will this refresh properly? Is there anything else I can talk about in the meantime? What do you guys like the UI? Do you like the colors? Do you like, I don't know, the layout?
Yes.
It's
I think it's
responsive.
awesome.
Look at that. Whee.
Do you want to
Super mobile friendly.
talk a little bit about how it's hosted and what it was built with?
Yes, it is hosted on Vercel. I built it with Next.js. I did not host on the IC because I don't have a good reason. I guess I should host it on the IC. I'm just used to using Vercel. I use Vercel for IC rocks because I need the server-side generation of the metadata. So like the meta tags for like the title and then the Twitter description. I think if we had a good way to generate that, like in Matoko or Rust canister, I would switch to that. But yeah, I'm not sure if anyone's working on like a static site generator or like a HTML templater for the backend. That'd be great to have. But yeah, the JavaScript itself is just TypeScript, React. Yeah.
Sweet.
Pretty standard stuff.
Any libraries for the UI?
The Matoko library.
Sorry? Did you say any libraries?
Yeah, my question was, what libraries did you use for the UI?
Yeah, so I guess the most impactful one here would be React Query. So React Query is sort of a middleware querying library. It caches queries. It allows you to refetch. It allows you to invalidate expired queries. It does optimistic updates. So right now I don't have the optimistic updates implemented, but if you had some action where you transfer funds and this is a slow process, you would want the UI to update as soon as possible, so the user has immediate feedback, and then you would send your update request to the IC, wait for the response, and then come back and either invalidate or finalize your optimistic update. So yeah, I think that's the pattern we're going to see for any sort of decentralized application. It just makes the whole UX UI much smoother.
Awesome. One thing.
Earlier, you said you wanted a library for creating was it metadata or meta HTML tags, or what were you saying you'd wanted?
Yeah, so the meta tags. I use this thing called metatags.io. So basically, if you go to, let's say, ic.rocks, you'll see like this photo right here, which is like the Twitter summary image, along with like this text over here.
We're not seeing.
So like when you paste.
We're not seeing the correct screen.
Oh, you don't see this. Okay. 1 sec. Can you see it now?
No, we can only see the Axon window.
What?
So you are showing that it's responsive.
Yeah, I think you're specifically just sharing the window that Axon is in.
Thinking about doing something.
I think we broke it. No, it's
There we go.
there. Yeah, now we can see the meta tags tablet.
Okay, yeah. So what I was talking about was, these HTML meta tags. I want to be able to generate these server side. So within a canister, based on the current route. And this is just like SEO stuff.
I got it. So you need the potentially the Matoko server to be able to serve those up via the HTTP route to whatever service you have consuming them. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So ideally, I would like a framework that had all of this built in. That's probably like a major project, but that's what would let me switch to hosting IC Rocks on the IC instead of on Vercel.
Thanks for sharing.
All right. So we're back to this neuron. I don't know why it takes so long for this balance to refresh. I will have to look at the code further. But now let's try splitting by 2. So this should work. All right, voting time. Okay. At some point in the future, I would like to show participation rates. So I would like to show that, this SMYOF person has voted in, 90% of all the proposals. So they get bonus points or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. All right, cool. So we executed this proposal to split 2 ICP. What does that mean? Does that mean the controller of this neuron have another neuron? Probably, right? So what I expect to happen is that this neuron will go down to 1.2, and I should see a new neuron. Oh, there it is. Wow. Wow, look at that.
It works.
This is super cool. And it shares the same follow graph. Wow. So there you go. That's Axon.
That's very cool.
We can accept this. Okay, so this is voting. I show a little preview of what the vote will look like after you vote. Not found. What is not found? This proposal? Oh, it's been canceled. Oh, I gotcha. Okay, cool. So that's the basic functionality. Neuron management, specifically for DAOs to manage one neuron, and also for seed round and early contributors to manage multiple neurons. Of course, the UI still has lots of room for improvement. I want to add automation. I want to add complex workflows. So I know John Weagley has some really long process where he does like, spawn and then split and then, holds it in a separate neuron and then maybe disperses depending on some conditions. So I want to be able to support that. I want to be able to have, let's say you create a proposal where you have these two neurons do some action, and then based on some condition that you set, these other neurons do some other action. And then that's one proposal. You could save that proposal and then automatically run it, let's say, every week or so. And I think that'd be really powerful. Then, let's say you have your DAO, you have ICP in this Axon right now, but let's say at some future there will be other tokens. You could use the same workflow, right? You could create proposals, save these proposals, and then just execute them and have your treasury be managed like semi-autonomously. And I think that's another very exciting possibility. So yeah, do we want to look at code, I guess, or any other questions?
I have one question actually before we move on to the code. Last week, Igor and I talked a little bit about the challenges behind sort of surfacing errors on the Axon level versus on the NNS level. And I think we saw a few errors actually during this demo where Axon itself didn't have permission to change, to carry out some sort of actions on the underlying neuron. Are there any sort of like interesting anecdotes or challenges that you've run into regarding like just a good UX around this sort of problem?
Yeah, that's a good question. Considering the US, it's still like pretty bad at this stage. I think, I guess having separate error labels helps. So the user can see exactly what went wrong. So here, I guess it's kind of hard to see where the error occurred. It's like, is this an Axon error? Is this a permissions error? Is this like an error in NNS? It's hard to say. I think that just requires more refinement of the actual UX and to surface those errors, to give better names to this error, because this is returned directly from governance. And then so I would have to change this in the front end to say like, please make sure that Axon has permissions. It can only do actions, blah, blah, blah.
One of the reasons I bring this up is that you can envision like a year from now, 5 years from now, new users who maybe are not familiar with what the NNS is and only really care about controlling their stake in the DAO. There's a conversation to be had around whether we should even surface errors like these, like whether we should surface, hey, like the fact that this error came from the NNS, or should we just like sort of compress that error into just a pure Axon error and say, hey, something went wrong. Like which?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think I agree. I always want to make things easier for users to reduce the cognitive load on the user. So if we know exactly what went wrong, we can just recommend that, oh, fix this setting and then everything will be fine. That's what you want. That's the type of feedback that I would want from, my developer tools, my compilers, whatever. Just tell me what's wrong so that I can fix it. And don't give me the actual error. So the Matoko compiler is guilty of this. The errors are basically unintelligible. And compare that to the Rust compiler where it just says, hey, fix this thing over here, and then everything will be good. So that's definitely the direction that I want to move in, and I think most applications should move in.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Let me switch to VS Code. Wait, that's not it. Okay, can you guys see axon.mo?
For me, it's a gray screen at the moment.
Same.
Hold on, is the stream frozen?
It actually looks like Definity Black.
Hello?
Hey, you're still.
Hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Yep. I think you've just been sharing specific windows versus your entire screen, and VS Code is just a different window than what you were sharing earlier.
But that's a good thing, because then you cannot dox things like,
Yep.
I don't know, passwords and keys. Welcome back.
Hello? Test?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm back now. All right, cool. Can you guys see?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, cool. So axon.mo. So I think you guys looked at some of this code already.
Yeah, we mainly looked at the interfaces like governance types and IC management types, but we didn't get into the code itself.
Okay. So these two functions over here, this is my so-called token. As you can see, it's just the basic bare bones. This can change. So token standards are a separate topic, but I'm happy to adapt this to whatever. Let's see. A lot of this code is boilerplate, where we're just initializing data structures and modifying data structures. I guess I will point out one pattern that I follow, which I don't know what the name of it from functional programming is, but if I want to create a new type of Axon proposal, then I apply some conditions. So I just call this, I use A, this is the Axon Helper. These functions just return the same object with some field that has been changed. And I don't know if this is the best way to update records, but it's a functional style. It works. It's a bit verbose though, but what can you do? So I take this proposal, this Axon proposal object, then I apply a new status based on some conditions, and then I apply, the executing status based on some other conditions. And then this returns a new Axon proposal, which then I pass to this, which returns a new Axon proposal, and then I get the final Axon proposal. Then I just append this to the array. Executing proposals, I don't know if this is like the best way to do it. There might be a bug here that I'm not aware of. There probably is. There's bugs everywhere. But so I call this doExecute function, which actually makes the asynchronous request to governance or to some other canister. So you could imagine if you are connected to some other token, right? And an Axon was managing your DAO's treasury, you would tell that token canister to transfer funds. Those actions would actually happen in this function. So we first change the status of the Axon proposal, and so this happens outside. This happens in some other function. We set the status to execution queued, then we call doExecute. Then in doExecute, we make sure that the execution is actually queued. Otherwise, we will trap. And then we cache this Axon proposal. We set the status to action started, and then we save it. And then from here on, we've sort of locked this object where any actions that happen to, or any effects that happen to this particular Axon proposal object, they will only take place after this async block has completed. At least that's my understanding. I could be wrong. So here we simply call the Axon proxy to manage Neuron. So this would be the async action that happens here. And then if it's some other type of command, then we do that thing over here. So down here we could do if it's some other generic token command, then do that asynchronous action. We save all of the results. So when we create a managed neuron object, we save that response, right? So we will just take this response and store it raw. These responses could be big, right? So if we do a make proposal, then we get back the actual proposal object. This could be, a large blob. I mean, any of these asynchronous operations could return large blobs, and then we are storing it inside this canister. I guess this could change in the future, right? Right now, Axon is one canister, and that's just because I'm lazy. So it's one canister. We don't know how much space it's going to require. We don't know how big these responses are. This will all have to change at some point. If these inter-canister update calls fail, we should do something smarter here. But right now, I am simply saying, oh, we failed. Maybe the subnet is down. Maybe the message got dropped somewhere. I don't know. But something bad happened. Try again. So ideally, this would retry, right? If it's if we know that the type of error is recoverable, we can just simply queue it up to try again. But I'm not doing that yet.
We need go-to statements in Matoko.
There you go. One tricky thing that I encountered was, I guess, objects can be the object that you're working with, that you think you're working with, may not be the exact object that you have. So here, right, I have a list of axons, and I do some operations to it, and then I save it. And then here I reselect. And this is important because the axon could have changed. The reference to this particular axon object at this point could be different than what we started this function with. So I want to reselect in order to have the latest copy of it. And so I noticed this error when just things weren't updating as they should. And then I realized, oh, I'm dealing with stale data. I have to reselect.
So you mean while executing, some other functions changed the array where you're working on, for example? Or
Yes, I believe
how
so.
can it happen actually?
Perhaps I was just referencing. So I create all of these different. I take Axon, right, and it's at state 1, and then I change it to state 2 by creating variable 2, and then I change it to state 3 by creating variable 3. And so perhaps I got confused along the way. I thought I was dealing with number 3 when in fact I was holding a reference to number 2. And yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's possible, but it's not bad to keep references, because if you need to abort along the way somewhere, you still have older version at least.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I had a reason for doing this, and I wanted to make a point about this, but yeah, just working with immutable data can be tricky, and just make sure you have the correct copy of data that you think you have. And what else is here? Yeah, the rest of this is just updating data structures, and like all of this is super boilerplate, right? It's just copying this struct, copying this record, replacing one field.
What's the actual paradigm in Matoko? Is it more like immutable, or I mean, is it just a preference how you work in it?
I think it's just a preference.
Because you can see you've experience with functional programming just by looking at your code. But yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm not exactly sure. I was sort of forced to learn functional programming, being employed at Dfinity. So yeah, I contributed to some of the Haskell code base back when it was Haskell. And so I really had to learn, like, what is a fold? How do you apply stuff? But I mean, I write TypeScript. Like, if you look at the code in this repo, most of it is in here. Most of the thousands of lines of code is in the UI. It's in, like, the React components. It's in, like, all of these damn buttons with all of their different configurations. So, like, this is the code that I write most often. And this takes up like 90% of the time.
Yeah, I get the question a lot, like, what should I know before I learn Matoko? I don't know. Does it matter if you know Haskell? Yeah. You can write like Haskell in Matoko. If you know Rust, it's like the result type. It's a Rusting. It's not Haskell. I mean, not specifically Haskell, and things like that. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you learn Java. You can write ugly object-oriented if you want to, but it's something I miss actually. That there are not many conventions around how to write Matoko. It's like variable names, snake case, camel case, Pascal case.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can do Pascal case because it has a capital letter, but I've seen all things. So yeah.
I think there is a style guide. Let me find where that is. There's a Matoko language style guide, and it was written by Andreas.
Oh yeah, I found it.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, paste it. Right, so that's what I try to follow. Not always though. I really want a auto formatter for Matoko. I think that's like super badly needed. I hate having to indent and press enter.
Oh, how often I forget at the end of my functions to I lost the word.
Semicolon.
Semicolon. That's it.
Yeah.
I forget it so often because my background is from Go, and we don't have semicolons at all.
Right.
So it's horrible because also the plugin in Visual Code doesn't detect it.
That's right. Yeah. And then you have like optional semicolons too, which like just
indeed.
like, look at
At
this.
the end.
The
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
I was planning to write a linter, but then I will be enforcing my preferences on other people, and I also don't want to do that. Because...
But I think you should. I think having a formatter, right, it relieves people from the obligation to care about standards. Because most people aren't that opinionated. If there's a formatter, then they don't have to think about it. They just accept what the formatter says.
Yeah, but
I would love that.
My formatter would also say if you have a public function and it isn't documented, you have to document it.
Oh, I see.
I hate undocumented code, but that's it's going a little farther. But I don't know, in what do you write linters? In Rust, I don't know.
I'm sure you could do it in Rust.
Can be in any language. Is there an AST parser for Matoko or something?
In OCaml.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I have to learn OCaml. I can do Haskell, but OCaml, I don't know if I have the time to look at it.
Yeah. I want the I think the language team should work on something there. I know it's like out of scope and it's not a trivial task, but I mean, who else is going to work on that?
Isn't it pretty trivial? You just have your AST tree of your code, and then you just have to format it.
I remember asking the languages team about this a while back, and they said that no, you can't just port over the AST. It needs to be rewritten. I don't remember what the reasoning was, though.
I will apply for a grant, and then I will write.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, do it.
Do it. Yeah, just don't make it.
Oh, I wanted to talk.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to talk about upgrading in Matoko. It's kind of tricky.
I was going to ask about upgrading. Perfect.
There we go. So there's a certain order of events that happen with upgrades. So let's say I install this canister, right? The first time I install it, none of these functions will be called, I think, because we're calling initialize. And so, you would have like your initializer constructor stuff happen, but not any of the pre-upgrade or post-upgrade events. Now, the next time you upgrade, what's going to happen is in your old code, the first version, in V1, right, you'll call pre-upgrade.
Yeah.
So V1 pre-upgrade will be called. Then you install the new code, and you call V2 post-upgrade, which means that V1's post-upgrade will never be called in this scenario. Then when you upgrade to V3, you will call V2's pre-upgrade, and then V3's post-upgrade. Yeah. So I don't know if this is like super well understood. I don't know if there's like a great example of this in the documentation. I struggled a little bit when I was first upgrading some of this stuff because it was just I was doing it in the wrong order, and it wasn't like super obvious to me how to do this properly.
Well, I didn't know. I'm just copying functioning code I written in the past. For my pre and post upgrades, just copy paste and change variables. But yeah, it's good to know. I didn't know, at least not no.
Yeah. And the Matoko compiler, it doesn't warn you if you're upgrading to an incompatible version. I think sometimes it does, but not all the time. But there's been cases where, like, I let's say I added a field to a record and then I just upgraded, and then all my data was wiped because that's an incompatible upgrade. And I think there's another forum post about this. Mm-hmm. But the compiler, it should be the responsibility of the compiler to at least warn you that, wait a second, you're adding a field. Are you sure you want to do this? There could potentially be bad things happening. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
In the NNS code base, this is sort of handled by default by protobuf. So everything is protobuf. And so if you are changing a field on the PB schema, then you won't be allowed to merge or change into master. And so yeah, I definitely see an argument to do this on the candid layer. So like you can have like compatibility rules for candid, and then those are enforced by the Matoko compiler. Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Was there a reason that protobuf is used? Like, what is the reason?
Yeah, I guess that it's just better battle tested. Also, we are out of time, I guess, so I'll end the stream here, but we can keep the conversation going.